Welcome, everyone, back to Check-ins with Dr. Charles. My guest is none other than the multi-talented, creative, award-winning artist and philanthropist, Carmit Bachar, also known as the redhead from the Pussycat Dolls. But I also understand that you are going by a new nickname. Is this correct?
Hi, David. Yeah, I mean, I my middle name is Miley, and it's Hawaiian, just like my daughter's name, Keala. I'm not Hawaiian, but I really have an affinity to the names and the cultures. It means something, and the mighty leaf is very ceremonial. I have it tattooed on my back, and I feel like I almost actually went with Miley as my stage name when everything started, and I
Really?
didn't. But it kind of
Fascinating.
feels like the new era, the new chapter, and the new me. I feel like, people know me as Carmit. That'll always be there. But people still have a problem saying Carmit. They're like Carmit. I'm like, even my fans, Pussycat Doll fans, are like Carmit. I'm like, oh my God, no! I just went to a ball the other day, and the guy who I've known, he's like the MC guy.
Yeah.
He introduced me and said my name wrong, and I'm like, oh my God, I've known you for years, and he's been apologizing profusely, but I'm like, that's why we're going to start going with
That's what.
Miley too.
So I'm really excited to talk to you today about. I have lots of questions about lots of things, but most importantly, just what makes you so amazing. So not to butter you up too much or anything, but
Keep it coming,
yeah.
keep it coming.
Okay. So but if it's okay with you, let's jump in because obviously you were a founding member of the Pussycat Dolls, and part of its journey from its early burlesque troupe days all the way through to the group's global success. So, the first thing I've been dying to ask you is what inspired you to create the group?
Well, I didn't create the group, but I was
Okay.
there from the beginning and the origins of it. I feel like the girls that became the ones to build the brand. We helped create the trajectory of the group, if you will.
Okay. Okay.
And it was a combination of timing and our inspirations of burlesque, of Bob Fosse choreography, things like Sweet Charity. That's where we were able to bring in the bar in buttons, an ode to where our roots and the essence of the group was. We were all professionally trained dancers, so we kind of took bits and pieces from everything to kind of make it a collaborative thing that we built the brand to get it to where it was 8 years prior to it getting a record deal, So yeah, I feel lucky because we were also in a time, it was the new age burlesque, right? We were the
Right.
neo burlesque kind of
Right.
movement in the new millennium. And it was an underground thing, Viper Room, Sunset Boulevard. We had like all of the celebrities and actors filling this, packing the house. But we were also in that realm. Like, I mean, some of us, some of the girls. So essentially, we were out at the parties meeting people, and that's how
Ah,
they heard
okay.
about the group and came to see us. So I feel like we were the street team. You know what I mean? We were
That's
like,
amazing. Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
It's like, so it had this really like grassroots kind of birth to it
yeah.
almost. That's amazing. To think about how successful you guys were. I mean, the dolls had huge hits, like you said, Buttons, Don't Ya. I'm curious, is there a particular performance or memory from that time that stands out most vividly to you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll do two because there
Okay.
was this sort of underground burlesque era, right? That's nostalgic now that I love. And I was working as a professional dancer in the industry, and I did No Doubt's bathwater video, and I met Gwen Stefani, and she and I just clicked. We were kind of similar in our, I don't know how to explain it, our je ne sais quoi,
Life
and we
energy.
just we yeah, and energy and our style. We were both
Yeah.
kind of funky and just transcended different kind of looks and things.
Hmm.
And we just clicked as friends. And I kept telling her about the Pussycat Dolls, and she was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." I don't think it really like clicked. And I met Jimmy Iovine
Oh, wow.
CEO of Interscope Records at the time through her. I remember going to New York and doing the Grammys with her. And Jimmy's like, you know, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a pussycat doll. He's like, what the fuck is that? We were,
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time, we had already like kind of started building our name. We were on the cover of Maxim. So he had somebody go out and get that newspaper for him so he could see us in it. And so he was kind of getting, little seeds of information. And I had invited Gwen several times and she couldn't make it. Finally one night I said, listen, it's last minute, but like come see the show. We want to, we'd love to have you as a guest because we had a lot of celebrity guests step in.
Sure.
And she came to see it. She sat in the corner and she was like, oh my God, I'm so jealous. I want to do this. And I've told this story because that was really the quintessential moment that when she decided to do the show
Mhm.
was when everything changed. Our trajectory of, our destiny changed, right?
Mhm.
Ron Fair, Jimmy Iovine came to see the show. She was like the perfect doll because she was kind of like new age, but old glamour. She really had that kind of vibe. She could transcend all the things. And yeah, when she did the show, just that was the turning point.
Yeah.
And then soon after we got a deal with Interscope Records. So I feel, it's cool to be part of the story of how we even got to the next chapter, in the saga of the Pussycat Dolls. So that is the moment that I always remember
Mm.
in the nostalgic old burlesque show that we did.
Right. Right.
And then I would say after, um, there's some pretty amazing shows like worldwide. We did the Live Earth event, which was like broadcast all over the world. And that was insane. It was like artist after artist after artist out all day in all the different countries around the world. And it was incredible. I mean, that was just some moments that I'm so fortunate to have experienced on that level. It's pretty cool.
So there's been a lot that's been said publicly about the dynamics within the group. From your
Mhm.
perspective, what do people most often misunderstand about that chapter of your life?
Wow. That's a loaded question because there's so many layers to that.
Yeah.
I think when we signed the deal, we were so excited. We were very young
Mhm.
and naive and hopeful and like, wow, this is amazing. This is all this great stuff is going to happen. And then there's just, you know, there's layers to the game, there's layers
Mhm.
to each industry, and then there's layers to people and there's
Yeah.
personality disorders and there are so many things that you deal with: fame, greed, ego, fear. I mean, you name it. When you factor all those things in, it's a shit show. And you learn so much after the fact. So even in the moment when things were happening, I didn't realize what was happening. In retrospect, I'm like, whoa, like the lessons are crazy. I am also grateful because they made me who I am today, right? So I wouldn't even like want to tell my younger self because I would ruin it. Right. But what I do take away always from everything, like, is the good times. And I choose to remember the good times. And I choose to remember what I love doing the most was what I'm passionate about is performing and connecting with people and the fans that to this day, 20 years later, are still keeping the legacy of the dolls alive is incredible. And I feel acknowledged for the impact that we did make on the industry, on the girl group lineage, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty cool. And to share that with my daughter now is cool because she and I now like this new girl group called Cat's Eye. And they're inspired. They're very inspired by the Pussycat Dolls. But I'm just like watching them. It's a combination of like, oh my God, it's amazing, and PTSD.
All of the above. Oh my gosh. Carmen, I
Yeah.
feel like when I don't know if this metaphor makes sense for you, but when you are encountering somebody with like personality disorders, it's kind of like you realize you're playing a game of chess that you didn't realize you were playing until it's almost checkmate. And it's really stressful sometimes when that you're going through when you're in it, because it's like, oh my gosh, there's can be so much on the line. And so I don't know if that
Yes.
resonates with you, but I would say the real way to win is to realize that at the end of the day, money isn't worth trading your character. And I feel like the person that you have become speaks for itself. The person that you are and always have been speaks for itself in that regard. So kudos to you.
I agree with that 100%. I think if you don't, if like I never really encountered some of the personality disorders that were within the group and the hierarchy of, things.
Mhm.
And the power plays, and there's all these agendas, and there's people doing things to advance their career and whatever, however, whatever ways. And no judgment. Everybody does plays the game the way they want to play. You choose how you want to live your life. You choose, unfortunately, it's the level of integrity within a group is definitely different. And when you are playing within that game, it's like a black hole. And certain personality disorders, it's like you're not going to win. You're gonna. It's like you either. It's like you can't rationalize it crazy, and at
Right.
some point, you either take back your power, and for me, that meant physically like extracting myself from the group for my own mental health and my own spirit. And a lot of people didn't understand, including my mom and my dad and friends. Like, how could you leave this multi? I'm like, it looks a certain way from the outside, and it's not that way from the inside. And it wasn't even until maybe like 5 years ago that I actually replayed, and I think it was because of the reunion. So I did a bunch of healing after I left the
Mhm.
group in 2008, I think, or something.
Mhm.
And took me about 2.5 years to kind of get back to myself and remember who I was and my blessings and my gifts. I was just empty. I was like, I don't know what it is that I want even, And then I'm grateful because I was able to have a family, which I think is equally as important as your dreams or anybody's dreams of having a career or being a pop star or whatever it is that you want. And so that was something that I wanted to achieve as well. And you get blindsided by this train that just, never stops, and an industry that you can give 2000% and get zero guarantee of anything in return. And I feel like I won the lottery to have an incredible dance career, and then the Pussycat Dolls, and then an actual, like, real grounded life where I have my daughter and I'm able to show her the things that are important and not be like, I got to be on set at 4 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, I chose to kind of step out of the spotlight for a moment to really be with her because you don't get those moments back when they're young. Now she's a teenager. She doesn't want to hang out as much. But we have such a strong connection and a bond. But
Yeah.
I think after the reunion, I really kind of went into another healing dive. It was intense. It was the most intense in my life because I went back into a situation that I knew was unhealthy for me. But I was like, okay, looking at the big picture, and it was something that I wanted to do, but the reality is I kind of feel like COVID was a blessing because it chopped us before we went down the hole of why the group, you know, demised in the first place.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there was so much there that, like mistrust and betrayal and you know, when people don't value you or acknowledge your contribution,
Mhm.
then you lose all the importance of why and what we're doing and the purpose. And, you know, when you have somebody and people that have personality disorders, they'll say what they need to say to get you back in the place, to make you believe that they're evolved and all the things are good. And they're saying what you want to hear. And you're like, oh, this is okay. We're on a new page. This is good. And then you were like, oh no, they're only more seasoned at their game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's frightening. But so it's definitely a challenge to stay grounded, be present, and enjoy it, and protect yourself, because there's a lot of energy swirling out there, you know. And but again, grateful for all the lessons. I think it's just like when you don't function that way, you don't think people are actually doing things like that, and so it smacks you upside the head, and you're like, oh, whoa, oh my God, did that just happen? And this is 20 years later that I'm like thinking about stuff like, what? It's so, I think there's a saying, turning poison into medicine, right? So if you don't take the lesson from it, then it will weigh you down. It'll hold you back, and you're holding the weight of that. And so it's to say that I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work on me. I am so grateful, and I'm not bitter, I'm not jaded, but I do hold a lot of truth. And people sometimes don't like to see that or be confronted with that or hear it. They don't want to know that about somebody who they, believe the persona is who that person is, when it's kind of a facade, really. And so I know everybody has their own journey, but I am grateful for everything that led me to this moment, to be the woman I am, to be the mother I am. And I think having cleft lip and cleft palate too, and going through what I went through also kept me kind of grounded in reality. And that's something that I think for people who don't have a sense of who they are, it's easy to get swirled and lost in the industry, and, believe the hype, and think it's okay to use people or step on people or poo poo on people who have contributed to help, build a foundation even for you to even work off of. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I wish everybody the best in their journey to get to where they need to get to and have the things that they truly desire. But yeah, it was a whirlwind. And I always think about like how crazy it is that we made such an impact in such a short amount of time, really. Like,
Yeah.
the burlesque
Yes.
group was 8 years prior to the recording group, but the recording group, we dropped Doja 2005. And I mean, we toured for about 2.5 years. And I think I left the group before the second album, which was about 2008.
Mhm.
So in retrospect, like that time, we accomplished so much.
It's incredible. Again, kind of building off what you said earlier, I love Cat's Eye. 'Cause I was a
Totally.
Pussycat Dolls fan. So it makes sense that I'm a Cat's Eye fan. I think the first time I heard Gnarly, I was like, oh, I am.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically, everything could be described with one simple word. Um,
My daughter is like, I'm the shit. I'm the
shit,
shit. Like
let's
all
go.
day.
It is such Pussycat Dolls energy. It is PCD energy through and through. So,
Totally.
being a pioneer in the burlesque girl group space, what do you find
Yeah.
most inspiring about this new generation?
Well, particularly with Cat's Eye,
Hmm.
I feel, I didn't realize it until my daughter made me watch the show on Netflix. And at the end, I was like, Hive, Interscope, Geffen, A&M, Geffen. I'm like, those are our labels aside from Hive, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, I feel like they literally took the handbook of like what not to do from us. which is like, which is like make each girl individually have their moment and
Yes.
glorify that, because it makes the
Yes.
group as a whole stronger. It makes them doper. Like I just feel like it's beautiful to see them embracing each girl, you know, Lara, the Indian, like beauty,
Yes.
and then Daniela, the Latin, and she's killing it, and she's an incredible dancer. And then, just all the girls have their own thing and they all work so hard. And the other thing is that they worked like boot camp for like 2 years. before they got, that's true artist development. And that is a lost art form. I still do that right now. I work with artists, but there's usually no budget anymore to do that with artists. So I work with usually artists that are, indie, self, funded kind of a thing.
Sure.
But it's unfortunate because like watching the show, I realized that with the dolls, we never had one vocal training, rehearsal, nothing, nothing,
Really? That
nothing,
is
not once.
fascinating. Wow.
Yeah. And it never crossed my mind. And I was like, oh my God. It was like so wild. It was just kind of like, oh, wherever you're at, where you're at is where you're going to be. There
We're
was
gonna
no
run with
like,
that. Hmm.
yeah, it's like, it
Yeah.
was almost like, yeah. So it was interesting just watching the group and seeing them grow too was really great.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much.
I love it. Yes.
What advice would you give any woman entering the music industry now?
I would say that's complicated because the landscape of music is different, period, right now. And so
Yes.
how you navigate is completely different than when I was around. When we started, we got the first round of 360 deals. So that was horrible to start. Um, and music was also just changing. I mean, I was back in the day when I was on tour with Ricky Martin and there was money in music. We were like living the dream. It was ridiculous. And then just things changed and, the middleman was cut out. So it's just like there was people just trying to figure it out. Labels are still trying to figure it out. And now you got like Spotify in the game and now you got AI in the game, which is changing a lot. And if Spotify can create their own AI artists and they know their own algorithm, that just makes everybody obsolete,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate. And I would say to anybody trying to get into the music business, like right now, it's very challenging to make money and be that kind of an artist on that level unless you're already established where you can get other kind of brand deals and people to help market your situation. So as an indie artist, I would just say start learning about AI and how you can, I don't know, incorporate that into helping you because the more if people like don't learn, then it's like when computers came out. If
Right.
people who didn't learn, they're like, it's too far ahead in technology, we're on a whole new playing field. And
100%.
it's not just music. You will have to be multifaceted. You will have to incorporate other things. So the days of just being in the studio and releasing something is just that's not what it is now to be an artist.
Yeah.
So they are trying to change a lot of the rules and there's all the things that are going on right now for songwriters and
Mhm.
there are people that are fighting the fight and trying to get what's right because the fact that there's a Spotify billionaire and struggling artists is not cool, is
It's
not
not
how it
cool.
should be.
Right. Right.
Or that songwriters can't sustain, a living doing what they do. So there's a lot to learn. And I would just say going into it, it's important to find a team of people that really believe in you and that want you to succeed, that you can trust in taking the necessary steps to learn this game and learn all the aspects of it. It's not just one thing anymore. So as far as working in the studio though, like I would say obviously we have this whole movement of an awareness, right? Of
Yeah.
women not having to compromise themselves or feel pressured to be a certain way or act out of their character to succeed, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And I think, more and more people are, women especially, but are being vocal about it. So hopefully that inspires people to stand strong on their morals and their values, whatever they believe for them. unless that's the right thing for you. You choose how you navigate yourself in life. Um, but I think, everything has cause and effect, and how you operate, how you navigate, how you what really your relationships are with people,
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
establish that at the end of the day. And for me, like, people go, "Oh my God, you've never changed." And I was like, "No, I've kind of been the same person through this entire experience." And that's why I can go anywhere in the world and I will run into somebody that I know that I've met, and those friendships and acquaintances and relationships, whatever, stand the test of time,
Hmm.
because I stand on who I am as a person, not just a validation of, "Oh, I have this hit song out right now." You know what I mean? So if you equate your identity with, like, what's happening right now, then that's where you get lost. And, for these young kids now, I feel like it's such a volatile time, to you're a trendsetter, you're an influencer, you have all this money, and then crash, boom, what are you doing now? Well, what's going to sustain you? Okay, what am I going to do now? How do I turn the corner? How do I pivot? What does that look like? So I would just say, like, learning all the aspects, like, stay open, keep an open mind, because you may go into it with one idea and then something else presents itself. And if you're closed off to it, you won't know that that's where your lane, that's where you're supposed to be. So
You are mentioning so many things that really, I think, are very powerful themes. One of the things that I talked about recently is that we're more than productivity, we're more than likes and numbers and things like that. But it's hard to remember that when so much of that is the game in terms of building a brand and trying to achieve success.
yes.
Um,
Yep.
but your connections really are, and thank you so much for saying that, because it really just gives, I mean, coming from somebody like yourself, that gives it so much weight that it's your connections. I mean, because you have collaborated with, I mean, as a dancer, as a choreography with, we're talking Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Janet Jackson, Aaliyah, Gwen Stefani, Ricky Martin. I mean, all these people. I want to hear more about, maybe what you took away from working with them, but also I'm curious, did they take that away from working with you? That consistency, that sort of attunement to what I would, as a psychologist, call your most valued self.
I love that. I love that. I feel like that's one thing that I've always done, is put that forward, my most valued self. And it's not just, okay, yeah, I have a gift and I love to share it. But
Mm.
when you work with an artist that shares sort of the same discipline, if you will,
Yeah.
it that's where you kind of meet on this level that you see them, they see you, and you can appreciate, what they bring to the table. It's not just a show. It's not just a facade, the show
Right.
of who they are. They really are that person. And that's the most believable. That's timeless. That's what, quote unquote, people call a star, or
Yeah.
it's not a celebrity. It's a star. It's a person that is that light, a person that does bring that value. And it goes beyond the picture or the, photoshopped video, whatever it is, So I
Right.
feel like, um, there's a balance of all the elements of that, and the people that I've worked with, like, specifically, like, I'm really still good friends with Ricky Martin, and I just was saying this the other day. I posted congratulations because he got the award at the VMAs,
Hmm.
and he performed and he killed it, and I'm just like, and he
So
reposted, and I'm
good.
like, babe, I'm like, this was what an incredible, like, you're still decades later bringing joy to people with your music, that he still is joy in it. It's not like he's doing an old song. Like, this is still, it's like he's such a light. It's incredible. And I remember, like, when we were on tour, God, this is like 99, 2000, I was the Vita Loca girl, and
Yeah.
it was difficult because he was massive and we were at the time dancing. So after the show, we could go out in the city and leave. And we'd always go to it at the hotel. We'd go to his room at the penthouse and we'd hang out a little bit before we went out on the town. And he couldn't do that, being as huge as he was. So there was a piece that was, like, still challenging, right? And he would be, like, looking out the window, waving at us, and we'd be like, we were living our best life, and he couldn't do that. And I remember after the 2.5 years of like touring that album, and this is common for artists, there's such a high that you can't quite quantify. I don't know what the word is. And then after that, it's like a boom, it's like a crash, it's like a depression. And he went through that. And I remember he was like, I'm going to Nepal and I just need to do, soul searching, whatever. He like
Mm-hmm.
did the work. It shows. I mean, he's as authentic as it gets. And he loves people, he appreciates, he acknowledges, he has so much fun when he's on stage. I mean, he's just free. And I love seeing him thrive because I love sharing the stage with him. And I take a piece of that with from the people that I've really connected with. Beyonce too. I just told this story, we have the same birthday. And when I did her solo project, she was like, I see you. I see you. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I see you, the Pussycat Dolls. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know you knew that because it was like still kind of underground, but we had just signed and she knew what the deal was. And
Yeah,
she and I definitely share the same work ethic. Like, I remember, she was always wearing heels. We had to wear heels too, of course, in rehearsal. But
sure.
she worked hard. She learned. She grew a lot, in her, not just like her dance ability, but her studying the history of dance and studying the greats that came before her, knowing her. She engulfed everything. You know what I mean? And that is why she is who she is. That's why, you know, she reigns like that. So,
Oh yeah, there's a
yeah,
reason.
yeah, exactly. So those are the kind of connections that I really value, tidbits that I take away, and connections from people that yeah, that are amazing in this industry, that are still freaking killing it. It is amazing. Like, I get so much joy out of watching that.
Ah, I love that. I love that. Compersion is what I've heard that called, deriving happiness and joy from someone else's joy.
Ooh, I learned something new from you too.
Hey, I love it. There you go.
I love
I'm good at the terms thing. It's kind of part of my
I
job,
love
right?
it. I love it.
Um, just to kind of go back to part of what you were talking about. And this is not something I'm as familiar with when it comes to the research on. So I kind of have to just want to put that out there. But I've heard fame oftentimes referred to akin to gambling. It can be
Ooh,
what we call a process addiction, where just the immediacy and kind of the dopamine rush from uh,
yes.
what you were describing that Ricky was experiencing, and folks like that. I don't think a lot of times people always think about how difficult that really must be. I think sometimes we can imagine maybe the loneliness of being sort of trapped in the hotel room because it's not safe. You can't go out the same way
Yeah.
that you as dancers could. But witnessing that firsthand had to have given you hopefully kind of some insight too about what a blessing and a curse, or maybe that's not the right language,
Yes.
what a blessing and a cost, really achieving that level of success can be. And you really better know or figure out your why in the meantime, because otherwise, like, what's it all for, right?
Totally. That's a great analogy, the blessing and the cost, because I was on the other side of it, and then I became that too in a moment
Mhm.
in time. And I just remember like going, wow, do I really want all of this? Like, I
Yeah.
also want to be able to like chill and go to the supermarket in my sweatpants, and not always be like, you know Beverly Hills housewife walking out the door. There's definitely levels to the game. And also there are people that have managed to not be in the spotlight like that as well, even though they're huge actors and whatever, their private life is private,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
also a choice how much you want to be um in that game. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely learned a lot from that. So I had all that in my arsenal before I became the Pussycat Doll
Yeah.
star celebrity. So I think I had a gauge on how to handle it a little more than maybe some of the younger girls.
Right.
So that was, yeah, definitely helpful. I didn't buy a shit ton of handbags and glasses out the gate, but I was like, buy property, girls.
Right. I love that is great. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Nobody listened to me.
Nobody
No,
knows.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I feel you. If only sometimes I feel like too we could take our own advice, like going back, like to younger me, like quit buying handbags, buy property. But just maybe touching on something else that you just mentioned. One thing, and I'm grateful for that you have been public about, as you mentioned earlier, was being born with a cleft lip and palate and just the process of having to undergo multiple surgeries. What I'm really curious about now is how did those early experiences sort of factor into sort of the life lessons that you learned that prepared you for fame, that prepared you for a life of required resilience?
Like, yeah, I mean, I think we all have a life of required resilience.
Oh, too
um,
real, too real.
it's so real. But yeah, I feel like, being born with cleft lip and cleft palate was sort of almost like a crash course in life
Mm,
because when you're a kid, you're not conscious. You're not like self-conscious. You're just like doing your thing. And like even with my daughter, I think it wasn't until she was about 8.5, 9 when I saw her like the switch flip where she was like, oh, like noticing that other people were noticing her. And I was like, I wanted it to last forever. But I feel like growing up with
mhm.
clef, people from a young age were like, what's that? Like pointing right at my lip. And I'm like, oh, I'm different. Oh, this is that it's like this, mental
Well,
switch that
you
you
didn't
start.
you didn't get that same window, is what I'm understanding, that maybe Kayala or other
Yeah.
kids who aren't born with these types of facial differences get.
Yeah. 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 And growing up and having surgeries unwillingly,
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of PTSD and trauma that I still am unpacking to this day. I didn't even know. I didn't even realize like until probably 5 years ago, there were still like compounded traumas and things that I
Mhm.
remembered that I was like, whoa, my mom was like, that was when you were 10 days old. I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way. Like I thought I was 3 and blah, blah, blah. Like I have this memory. And so it's and then we store stuff in our bodies somatically. So and especially I've heard now, like when you have facial surgeries and they open you up, there's a whole other thing there. Like it's an ongoing thing, obviously. And I'm very curious about unpacking all of that. I mean, I've always done the work and I'm a truth seeker 100%, but it's I think it's lifelong work for sure. And that definitely prepped me in a way to take in account all of the things being in the public eye like that, right? So
Mhm.
who I am, how I represent myself, other energies that come in, like all those things were part of it. And having had such a great experience being a dancer and a choreographer and working with artists, living my best life, I got that juice without the level and the game of what it was like when the group happened and there was competition and different agendas and like I said personality disorders and all the things that go into that.
Mhm.
I got that in my career, so I had been at the same stages performing the same things with an artist behind an artist. I remember being on stage with Jennifer Lopez doing the American Music Awards and I was like right behind her
Mhm.
and I remember having this like cerebral moment where I was like out of body and I'm like, why am I behind her? Like, why am I like I could be doing this myself? And I know that's something that I was in that moment, I felt like I wanted and I needed. And then things manifested and I was like ready for it. I had had experience, which a lot of the girls didn't have.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it really speaks to, in a sort of different way, the cost and the benefit of having to endure pain and having to
Yeah.
encounter it from a young age. While it might have not given you kind of that incubatory sort of period,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, here we go. It's the moment of truth. Like, and you kind of
Yeah.
just have to figure out, even at 10 days old, how do you deal with that? And that experience, challenges some narratives even about like when memories first form, because we oftentimes
Yes.
think it kind of coincides with language, but
Yes.
there's a universal language of pain and struggle
Hmm.
that you were enduring and facing.
Hmm.
And I think more importantly, learning how to persevere, because I think just in my encounters with you, one of the most remarkable things is that I mean, you talked about Ricky being this light, like Carmi, you are this light.
Oh, thank
And,
you.
I'm wondering if you see yourself as that, if you see that in yourself and recognize that.
Thank you. I do now. I do. And I think I always kind of did, but
Hmm.
it wasn't on the forefront. I wasn't consciously owning it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I knew that what I will say, what I learned from that resilience is empathy
Mm,
topic. Let's talk about the word empathy. That's what
yeah.
you learn from
Yeah.
dealing with something at an early age like that. So coming into a situation is just I have compassion. I listen to people. Yeah, it built my character, and I'm that's definitely I wouldn't be who I am today without it. So that's a huge thing I think coming into a scenario where people don't recognize how they show up. It's just about me, looking good, the image, the optics of like looking good versus really being good, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I
Right.
think that's our job. That's our journey. That's our job.
Yeah. 100%. I could not agree more. Moving forward, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is that you've been an ambassador with Operation Smile for 20 years and counting. What is it that drives your passion for that work?
I mean, it's everything that I went through, and it's a part of me. It's a part of my experience and how I got to this place in my life. And
Hmm.
also being able to show anybody who's born with anything, any kind of affliction or something that makes them feel different. I mean, but specifically tied with Operation Smile, kids who have cleft, that anything is possible and that there is somebody that's out there that maybe has fulfilled their dreams, even though they feel like this might be something that holds them back, and sharing that. And because it's so funny, we all know that Joaquin Phoenix has cleft. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't share that, but it's built into his characters. You know what I mean? Which is cool. I remember there was another Stacey Keach or something. He had a mustache though. He covered it. So it's not there are not too many people out there that are speaking on it, speaking about their experience or sharing. How people can transcend that and embrace it. It's funny because growing up, I always, it's right on my face. I have different angles, that I notice and whatever. And there are people that are just like, oh my God, I love your mouth. I love your this. I love it. And I'm just like, wait, what? The thing that's been, such a challenge for me to find beauty and grace and light in, which I do. Obviously, I have. I've done a lot of work with that. But it's funny how you never know how somebody else sees you, perceives you. We have to be responsible for our mindset and for how we can put ourselves in a limiting belief in a box. But really, it's really just your own perception of yourself. So if I can at least be that one person that helps a kid see past their idea of what they are, who they are because of something that's happened to them or they were born with, then that's amazing for me. And I'm moved and touched and inspired when kids share or like people DM me that their child has cleft, and thank you for inspiring them and showing them that they can do anything they want. Like it's great to be a pop star, but there's also the other part of it that gives it purpose.
Yeah. How has becoming a mom changed you?
Oh my God. It's changed everything. It's now that's my purpose.
Yeah.
Now she is my purpose. Period. End of story. That's it. I have been blessed with the responsibility to raise an extraordinary human. She is my light. She's my love. Like I'm getting teary eyed. Like she's the best thing that ever happened to me. And Yeah, she's it. And
She
everything I
is.
do is for her and me, obviously. I have to be good to be good for her. But yeah, it's just so fun. She's fun. It's fun to do this life with her and share with her. It's like we go through these things that we have to be resilient for in our life. But when you have like a new, young child, baby soul, you get to go through the things as if they're new again with them. And so it's like a refreshed version.
Mhm.
It's brand new for them, so you
Right.
can find the magic and the light in it again. You're like, oh, I've been there, I've already done that, or I went there, or I've seen it done. When do we become resigned?
I feel like children
So
are a great reminder that life is magical.
totally, that's a great way to put it.
If I may, I want to share that I live for your and Kayala's dance videos that you guys do together.
They're
Love
cute.
them so much. They are, just to share with you, they are a light, a beacon of light in my
Thank
life.
you.
You're welcome.
It's so sweet.
You're welcome. Uh,
They're fun.
you clearly can tell you guys are having fun, and again, it's genuine. The question that I have for you now is, what does success mean to you today compared to when you first started?
That's great. I love that. I think when I was younger, I my girlfriend and I, we call it rookie love. You full of energy, ambition, and you're just like go 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 go. You do everything, you say yes to everything, you want to be everywhere, you want to like enjoy it and party and meet people and travel and work. And like I don't want to go on tour right now unless it was with the Pussycat Dolls, on that level. Like I'm
Mhm.
not going to go on tour and leave my family, right? That's those are things that are different now.
Yeah.
And also it's important to have a balance of everything, I think, and stay grounded, stay present. And I definitely remember just enjoying the moments more when we did the reunion because I was like, whoa, this is so wild and it's so cool. This world can be surreal, like when you're just on that train of here and there and security guards and you're escorted here. I mean, I remember one time we did this show in Paris, and to get to the stage, it was an outdoor like show.
Mhm.
um we had like a police escort, and they were like, it was like crazy. It was like, it was just like so much energy all the time. Um, but I also feel like when you're doing that, you're giving so much of your energy out. And now it's like important for me to keep my energy for myself
Mm,
and for my loved ones. My love, my energy, my gifts are a present. And I remember that.
mm.
And instead of just giving it all away, I want to share it with people, but I don't want to give it away. So the difference is just being balanced, you can have all the things that you want without being so frantic or stressed out, or I call it frantica. It's just making sure that all the pieces are kind of cohesive, because usually when you're like so hyper focused on one thing, something else kind of gets lost in the background, whether it's your mental health or a relationship or all these kind of things. So some people are focused on their career, but they're like, can't figure out the relationship. Some people are focused on a relationship, can't figure out their career, whatever. It's like, I feel like the balance is really success.
So well said. There is, if I may share with you, so growing up, I loved pop music and I loved rock alternative. One of my favorite bands of all time, and still to this day, is the Smashing Pumpkins. And there's this song with this line: if you spill your love around the secrets of your dreams, then you may find your love is gone and it's not quite what it seems.
Ooh, that's deep.
Billy Corgan is one of the best
Yes.
poets and lyricists I think of our time. I agree, but that really stuck with me, and I just feel like really connects to exactly what you just said. And
Okay.
achieving that balance is something that I think can only really come from doing the work to know who you are. So
Yes.
I really appreciate everything that you have shared with me today. I am so deeply honored, Carmit. And before we go for a little fun, since I shared one of my favorite bands and songs, what is a song that makes you most want to just get up and dance?
I mean, that's tough because there's so many different genres. Like I love house music.
Hmm.
But I remember the moment when I was really young, I would say probably seven-ish, and remembering that this song like got me. And it's really this artist that got me, and that's Shaka Khan.
Oh,
And there's just
yes.
something in her. I mean, I loved Madonna and I loved a lot of artists when I was younger, but there's something that pierces your soul with her vocals, and it's just like, Ain't Nobody, Through the Fire, like all these
Mm.
like songs that just I just remember like feeling it deeply when I was like seven, and I'm like, oh, this is real. This is soul. This is.
Oh my God, the Queen. Oh my gosh, I'm was a little surprised, but pleasantly surprised. But that is such a good, in my opinion, I think that's an excellent answer. So thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Well, let's close out this interview with again one more giant heartfelt thank you to Carmit
Thank you.
Miley Bachar. As always, take care of each other, stay safe out there. Carmit, is there any other closing thoughts you would like to share?
Thank you so much for just having this platform to share some real topics and be authentic. And, um, you know, sometimes there's like a show, people don't want to hear some certain things, but like it's important to dive into the real things because we're becoming so disconnected with technology and the way social media works, how fast it moves. And real connection is really important. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, and we'll see you at the next check-in.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.